The man with the plan in the Southern Conference is SoCon John Hooper. You read him on Mid-Major Madness, like I, Marky Billson, host of Tri-City Sports Now, do all the time. And he some wonderful previews, by the way, of the season, of the basketball season coming up. But anyway, SoCon John Hooper, a lot of stuff going on in the SoCon. Furman is ranked number 25 in the nation. Wofford just got bounced by Kennesaw State in a close game in the FCS playoffs. But let's begin with an old SoCon team, because I know you went to Appalachian State. That's the program that kind of got you into the Southern Conference back when. But it came out Scott Satterfield is leaving the Mountaineers to go to Louisville. Tell me this, who do you think the new coach is going to be? Do you think they stay internal and promote Dale Jones, or do they go for a Tony Elliott, or who are some of the people that you'd like to coach the Mountaineers realistically in 2019?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios that I guess I've considered over the past not even 24 hours yet, but I think that first of all, I was a little shocked that he would take the Louisville job, considering the situation that he'll be going into.
It is a Power 5 job.
It is, correct, but I think he could have been a great candidate for the Georgia Tech job.
I'd heard that too, yes.
In some ways, I think that would have been a better job, but then I guess you've got to take the opportunities while they're there, because there's no guarantee. But, having said that, I think that he would have had a great opportunity to get the Georgia Tech job simply because the fact that Nate Woody, the defensive coordinator last year at Appalachian State, is now the defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, which so Paul Johnson kind of pulled the rug out under him as well. So that'll be interesting to see. I don't think Nate Woody would have ever gone to Georgia Tech had he known that Paul Johnson would retire after the year. So, as far as candidates, I think Dale Jones would be a great one just because of his experience and how long he's been around Appalachian State. You look at you could look at Sean Elliott, but I think he's fallen a little bit on hard times there at Georgia State, especially this season. They went to a bowl last year, but this season they struggled a little bit. But, I don't know if you would hold that against them since they're still a building program. So those are my two top candidates. And I think maybe an out-of-the-box guy would be like a Justin Stepp, who is down under learning under Chad Morris at Arkansas. He's been the wide receivers coach at Appalachian State in the past, as well as being a graduate assistant at Clemson. So that would be another coach that could get some, if they look to go the younger route, to get attention from Appalachian.
Well, we're talking to SoCon John Hooper, but we did want to talk about the Appalachian State search. I got to tell you, I think Sean Elliott at Georgia State, I'm not sure I would leave Georgia State. Now, we've had this discussion before, but Georgia State's going to be the largest school in Georgia, if they're not already. They are very shortly. They've got brand new facilities. And plus, if you're going from Georgia State to Appalachian State, you're leaving the city mouse to become the country mouse. And that culturally can be difficult for people to do, especially when this country mouse is 2 hours away from the nearest airport. So,
I said that because,
yeah.
we'd be used to having played there and coached there.
True. Now that's a good point. So he has some country mouse in him, if you will. I'm stealing the phrase from Chris Matthews. So maybe for that matter, that might be one of the reasons why he has struggled a little bit at Georgia State, for that matter. However, I do think that Georgia State could be an up-and-coming program, and I think that if the major conferences ever expand, bring in UCF or whoever, that you might see a Georgia State move up to a American or Conference USA, if I can spit it out of my mouth, assuming those conferences would be considered in that time better than the Sun Belt. That's a big assumption due to the fact that it's the market size of Georgia State and the fact that they're the facilities and that it's a growing program. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but that. So I actually think there is some potential and some way you can get there from Georgia State. What about Tony Elliott, though? I read a lot about him to Georgia Tech. I read that he is up for the Appalachian State job. I guess, what was it? Mike Houston left for from James Madison to East Carolina. There was some talk about possibly East Carolina being interested in Elliott from Clemson. He's a co-offensive coordinator. Could you see him as the App State coach?
I could. Actually, Coach Elliott was one of his first jobs was at Furman as the wide receivers coach under Bobby Lamb. And I think it took a couple of years off to go into marketing and then worked at Michelin. And then came back to Clemson. So, I think that would be a great hire. I think that'll be somebody that Appalachian State looks at. I think, there's a lot of belief that there's a lot of relationship between, I think, both the Clemson and the Appalachian State staff, and that wouldn't be a bad place to start when you're looking at the success of that program and trying to get a coach that is coached under Dabo Swinney and has had the success that Clemson has had.
They were talking to SoCon John Hooper, but before we go, he got into the SoCon through Appalachian State. He used to be he used to go to Appalachian State, so he's a graduate of that university. And so before we go and talk about the basketball and Wofford getting bounced, well, let me give this segue.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's one last football thing. Have you heard anything about Wofford's coach, Josh Conklin, being considered for the James Madison job? I
have read that. That was my very next question. And it doesn't surprise me. In some ways, I was surprised that Conklin didn't win the Coach of the Year because Wofford won the conference outright, and both he and or I shouldn't say outright. They won it with the tiebreakers,
Right.
And both he and Randy Sanders were first-year coaches. The big difference, of course, and I've said this is what Coach of the Year is. We vote you low in preseason. We undervalue your talent. And then we say, well, it couldn't be us making a bad prediction. It's you being this great coach. Doesn't matter that the first thing you did when you became the coach was get suspended and lose your offensive coordinator. It doesn't matter that you chose the wrong quarterback for the first 4 games. No, we picked you 8th. You finished in a tie for first. You're going to go and be our Coach of the Year. I have heard that about James Madison, that might be. James Madison has gone from the SoCon, plucking their coaches before. Conklin has some big, he's got some Power 5 experience. So, what do you think? Do you think that that's a viable coaching hire, Conklin to James Madison?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think if you look at James Madison, they're kind of the upper echelon. I guess now they are the upper echelon of the FCS. So that would be the next. If you're a young and up-and-coming coach, such as Conklin is, that would be a place that you would be able to make that next jump, just like Mike Houston was able to, or is going to be able to do wherever he ends up going. So, I think that's something to consider if you're a Wofford fan. You have a Mike Ayers there that's kind of a staple, sort of like a Bob McKillop at Davidson for so many years, and then you have a new guy come in, and then there's always the threat of the new guy trying to, enhance his career, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think as a fan, if you're a Wofford fan, you just have to look at it that way, and a lot of programs in the FCS get that sort of stepping stone outlook from another coach, coaches, they're looking to better their career. They're not going to stay there for a long time. They're going to try to have success at one place and do it as well as they can and try to take the first opportunity that comes along. And James Madison can offer more money than Wofford, bigger program, and quite simply, he probably wouldn't be at James Madison long if they had some success.
And I could see that. I saw also the main coach might be somebody that could move up the FCS ranks, maybe James Madison, because Maine doesn't pay him $150,000, which is a nice salary for the lay person, but for major college football coaches in D1, it's considered to be, you'd be one of the least paid. So there was some talk about, hey, what about the main coach? I did see that as well. But now let's just play this rumor mill here. Okay, James Madison needs a coach. What if they hire Wofford's Josh Conklin? Then what happens? Do they hire at Wofford an assistant that Conklin has? Do they offer Wade Lang, who's the offensive coordinator, or Sam Seif, help me with the pronunciation, Seifkees, the defensive coordinator? Or, I mean, do you know somebody who's just itching to go to Wofford?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Wade Lang, and you would have thought he would have been a candidate to take over when Mike Ayers retired.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's some thought there that he's happy with being in his position as offensive coordinator. And there's also some people out there that feel that he makes a great offensive coordinator, wouldn't necessarily make a great head coach. So, it's hard to say. I think he might consider a guy like Gasparotto up at Appalachian State, who played his football actually at Wofford. And I don't know if you watched the Sun Belt game on Saturday.
No, I didn't. I got to tell you.
Well, his brother is battling cancer, so it's been a tough year for him to say the least. But I think he's a young and up-and-coming coach at Appalachian State, and you might look at him since he once played defensive back for the Terriers.
Okay, intriguing. By the way, just to throw that out, if some of the listeners, Wade Lang sounds familiar. Yeah, he used to be an assistant at ETSU under Mike Ayers years ago. Okay, coached tight ends and some linebackers. So I may have had a role with Billy Taylor, as a matter of fact. So, anyway, who's now the defensive coordinator at ETSU, if someone was not aware of that.
Before the football program canceled the first time.
Yes, they were. I'm curious what's going to happen to Paul Hamilton now that Paul Johnson has retired. Paul Hamilton was working for Georgia Tech doing recruiting, that sort of thing, the former ETSU head coach. And, I guess he hadn't had much success after ETSU, and I know a lot of people were upset that he took ETSU from a level when he inherited the program of 10-3 down to 6-5. But please do understand, ETSU was trying to pull the plug on the program long before just the end. He was working with 4 fewer scholarships than all the other teams in the SoCon had, and he was smiling and being the good soldier and all that through it, to try to instill a positive atmosphere to get the recruits to come in. Don't get me wrong, it really was somewhat impressive that ETSU could have so many winning records under Hamilton, under the handicaps he was given. But nevertheless, his post-ETSU career did not work out with winning records at either Elon or Brevard. He was also an assistant for a little bit at Air Force. I will also see went back with Fisher DeBerry and company. All right, SoCon John Hooper, we'll make the segue now. What about that Wofford-Kennesaw State game? You had picked Wofford, okay, a little bit of Southern Conference bias maybe or so, but that 13-10 final, did you have a chance to watch it or analyze the box score? What are your ideas? What about that ball game?
It doesn't surprise me that game was not really high school, considering both the knowledge each coaching staff had of the other, the offenses they were running. I think Wofford could have very easily won that game. I think there was only one field goal in the second half.
Well, I mean, I would, from a standpoint of you get the Atlanta market, welcome them in the Southern Conference, but I've also heard because the enrollment is so high and because maybe, the Furmans and the Citadels and the VMIs, and I guess you don't have Davidson anymore, but the Woffords, they sort of want to say we are a academic conference as well. They sort of look down their nose at KSU and think it's a reform school or some such thing. I'm not exactly sure. But that is always said to be a reason why KSU might not make the jump to the SoCon. Then again, right now, the Big South and the SoCon seem to be comparable for football if you really want to get right down to it. It's just that the Big South is, I always say, more bottom light. You hear top heavy. Bottom light would be the Big South, unquestionably. Where would you see them going if that was the case? I mean, would you see them trying to go to the FBS with the enrollment that they have? Or?
I think, we've seen already by just a few years, past few years, I should say, that in the Sun Belt, they're willing to accept pretty much anyone that'll come. Now, they may have cut off that deadline now, but we saw Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern. So I don't know if they're looking to do more. Another conference outside the Southern Conference, I guess, would be the CAA, but considering Kennesaw State basketball program, that probably wouldn't be attractive to the CAA. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but I think they'd almost be better off being independent, like Notre Dame is. If they're going to be that successful, but can't find a conference to be in now, the situation is different, obviously, with Notre Dame. But, Kennesaw State would probably be better off without a conference affiliation at this point if they can win as much as they've been winning and then try to move up at some point.
Well, I think there's a big difference between Kennesaw State and Notre Dame, but I do understand a little bit what you're saying. Yes, no, I've got what you're discussing right there. We're talking SoCon John Hooper of Mid-Major Madness, and did want to sort of look at this here. Let me move now to football, from football to basketball. I am looking right now at the, shall we say here, there's a website called teamrankings.com. And they will give strength of schedule for the conferences. Now, I want to point out that there were 9 conferences last year that got multiple bids to the NCAA tournament. Right now, the Southern Conference in RPI, and I know they use a different system, but let's just be, and this is still a legitimate ranking, system, even if it's not official. They are ranked 8th in RPI, is the Southern Conference in all of college basketball. In other words, the 8th best college basketball conference, ahead of the Missouri Valley, ahead of the American, ahead of the MAC, Conference USA, and even the A10. First question, you think I can keep this up?
I wish. But ultimately you're going to have to start playing in conference, and you're going to start beating up on each other. You can't just play non-conference games forever. So it depends on, I think, if you, it's sort of like if they can get their RPI high enough now in non-conference play. Let's say Wofford, they play Kansas tonight, so it's going to keep going up as long as you're playing games like that.
Sure.
Back ruling on that, but I think that some of those SoCon teams have to stop playing teams like Virginia Intermont, and if there's a way to do that, I don't know. But,
well, yes, there is. They've closed down Virginia Intermont.
well, that's just an example, but yeah, they can't take games against Southern Wesleyan and games like that bring your RPI down. It's better to play somebody like a Radford, who's getting votes now in the AC Top 25, if you can organize it. But it's just so hard to organize, even with 300 some odd teams at the NC Division 1A level, to organize those games, which you wouldn't think would be the case.
Let me point this out from the ETSU standpoint. We're talking Wofford is playing at Kansas tonight, number 2 Kansas. I was told by the people in Wofford when ETSU played there on Saturday, and really were routed, that Wofford was the most physical team that ETSU had played to date, and this is why they were able to out-rebound a team that came in, Jerome Rodriguez, the nation's leading rebounder by some statistical points, and I've been really impressed with Mladen Armas underneath, who's been getting 13 boards a game, let's just say. Do you agree? Do you think Wofford's the most physical team in the SoCon?
Judging from what I saw for Western Carolina on Saturday night, no.
Okay.
So, I mean, I haven't had a chance to see, Wofford in person, but I would say that Western would be up there with them as far as being just trying to assert themselves physically in the paint and with what they have to work with in the front court. Now, I know that the Wofford game in the first half was kind of a different ball game than in the second. I thought East Tennessee State did a great job defensively in the first half. And I thought they did pretty well in the second half. I just think they struggled shooting the basketball. But I guess you'd have to credit some of the things that Wofford was doing from a physicality standpoint to that. So, it's tough to say who's more physical, but Wofford has always been a team that's a little bit, they play with an edge. And that doesn't surprise me that East Tennessee State coaches would say that, because I've heard that from not only their coaching staff, but several around the league. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they go up against another team that's pretty physical in Mark Prosser's squad,
Sure.
Western Carolina.
Furman's number 25 in the country. I'm trying to remember the last time a Southern Conference team was ranked. I remember Davidson was during the Steph Curry years, and College of Charleston was around 1999, John Cressy years, when they got the number 8 seed in the NCAA tournament. I remember them being around number 21 and such. Can you recall in the last 20 years any other SoCon teams getting the official bid, not votes, but getting a bid or getting into the rankings as undefeated Furman is now?
Over the past 20 years?
Let's go to the last 20 years. I mean, I can remember when Chattanooga was ranked, when ETSU was ranked. VMI finished 1975 ranked number 20. I know that, but can you remember any time last 20 years a team other than CFC and Davidson being ranked?
Oh, no. As far as, no. The last time prior to those two teams would have been, I guess, the College of Charleston. Excuse me, let me see.
Well, ETSU was, I'm trying to think of...
ETSU.
ETSU in 91.
Early 90s.
And I remember Chattanooga being ranked in the early 80s. I remember, and such. And like I said, I know VMI finished 20th in the final 75 poll.
Right. I made the Elite Eight.
I know they won their first NCAA game because it was against Duquesne, and I'm from Pittsburgh, so there you go.
That was when it was only 32 teams.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was 32 teams. Exactly. Yes. You were, and I think that was that may have been the last year of one bid for every conference. They may have at 75 they opened it up, but they may have opened it up in the 76 tournament in 75, but somewhere around there. Forgive me if I'm not quite sure, 75 or 76. Anyway, real quick though, how long can Furman stay undefeated?
Well, it's not going to last forever, obviously.
You got to play LSU this month, but other than that, they Elon, USC Upstate, Charles, yeah.
They'll be favored.
Sure. But are they the team to beat?
From a logical, yeah. Well, I don't know if they're the team to beat. They're one of the teams to beat, but I think that the top. If you look at the top four, there's so little separation between those four teams that it's hard to say who's the team to beat. I think probably I would have to say it's still probably Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm going to have to hold you there, okay, because I am way over time. He's SoCon John Hooper, Mid-Major Madness. We do this every beginning of the week and all this on Tri-City Sports Now because he's really in the know. And the SoCon is really hot come basketball season. In fact, TeamRankings.com is picking them for 1.6 bids in the NCAA tournament. Could happen. Tri-City Sports Now. From 4 to 7 at the Boca Bowl.